The mirror in the bathroom was starting to fog up, but nobody was in the room. Let me explain. It was 3 a.m. My wife had been asleep for hours, and I was woken up by the sound of heavy footsteps. Now, this is weird because our home is old, and the floorboards creak when you walk on them, so it wasn't difficult to tell where the noise was coming from. It was right above us in the room that our son Riley used as his office. Riley moved out about 2 months ago, and he would work from home every now and then. But we haven't heard from him in weeks. He'd never come over at 3 a.m. either, so I sat up in bed and called out to him.
Riley.
Is that you? There was no reply, just the sound of heavy footsteps. I was starting to get scared. What if there was an intruder in our house? The thought crossed my mind. But then I realized that Riley has a key to the house, and he could easily let himself in without telling us. But then I started to hear more strange sounds. It was like someone was dragging something metal across the floor. And then I heard what sounded like a loud crash. I told my wife that I was gone, go check on things, while she called Riley's phone. We didn't have any other choice. I couldn't call the police yet, because I didn't know if there was a person up there or not. What if I walked in on a burglar? That would be pretty bad. So we waited. After a few minutes, my wife got a text message back from one of her friends. Apparently, she had been texting with Riley all night, and he had been fine just a couple of minutes ago. He said that he was working on a project and that he wouldn't be able to sleep anyway. But he also mentioned that he was only a couple of miles away. That meant that he was probably walking home right now. And just as my wife read me that last message, we heard the front door open and close. Then we heard Riley's voice. Hi, sorry, I didn't mean to wake you guys up. I just couldn't sleep, so I thought I'd come home and work a little bit. He sounded a bit drunk, but that wasn't unusual for him. He'd been working hard on a big project at work and had been staying late and drinking with his colleagues. My wife and I looked at each other. She shook her head, meaning that she still wanted me to go check upstairs. But before I could move, Riley came into our room. "Dad, are you awake?" he asked. "Yeah," I replied. "I heard some noise. Thought you were an intruder or something." Riley laughed, and then he looked tired. "Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you up. I just couldn't sleep, so I thought I'd come home and work a little bit." He yawned and stretched. "Can I just borrow your spare key next time, please?" I nodded and tried to go back to sleep. It wasn't easy, though. Every now and then I could hear Riley moving around in his room, making the same strange noises that I heard earlier. My brain was trying to make sense of the situation. If it was Riley up there, then why did he leave and then come back again? But then it dawned on me. He'd mentioned that he was working on a big project. Maybe that was why. Maybe he'd been working so hard that he completely forgot that he had left his key in the front door. But there was something else that didn't quite make sense. As Riley moved around in his room, I could hear the sound of heavy footsteps. But the room above us was empty. I had checked it just a couple of weeks ago, and it was absolutely empty. The following morning, after Riley had left for work, my wife and I went back upstairs to check out the room again. "I want to see if I can find out what's going on," I said. My wife was a bit skeptical, but she agreed to help me look around. As we entered the room, we noticed that the mirror was covered in fog, but no one was in the room. I don't know how else to explain it. It was like the mirror was steaming up, even though there was no one in there. But then I remembered that Riley had said that he had been working late, and that would explain it. He must have turned the heating on in the room while he was working, and that would explain why the mirror was steaming up. But it didn't. The room was freezing cold. It was obvious that no one had been here recently. Then I turned around and saw my wife staring at the corner of the room, her eyes wide with fear. "What is it?" I asked. "Looks like someone's hiding in there," she whispered. So I walked over and pulled back the curtains. The mirror was behind them, and as I pulled them back, the fog cleared, but I didn't see anyone. I don't know how else to describe what happened next. My wife and I stood there in silence as we watched the mirror start to fog up again, like someone was breathing on it from behind, but there was no one in the room. We could clearly see that the room was empty. We stood there frozen, watching the mirror, but then the lights flickered and went out. We were plunged into total darkness, and then we heard a crash from inside the wardrobe. The wardrobe that was in the corner of the room where my wife had seen a dark shape. My wife screamed and grabbed onto me, burying her face in my shoulder. When the wardrobe door opened, the light from the hallway shone through the gap and revealed empty hangers. There was nothing in there. I felt my wife tense up against me, and then she whispered, "There's someone in there." I looked into the wardrobe and saw the dark shape standing in the corner. It looked like a man. I couldn't make out any details because the wardrobe door was blocking most of the light. But I could see that there was something or someone standing in there. "Don't be scared," I said to my wife, trying to sound brave. But I was scared too. I took a step forward and reached out to try and touch the figure. But as soon as I did that, the lights flickered back on and the wardrobe door swung closed. When I looked inside again, there was nothing there. I think I might have been a bit naive because I actually believed that whatever was in there, it had just turned off the lights and closed the door itself. I mean, why would it have done that? My wife and I exchanged a nervous glance, and neither of us wanted to enter the wardrobe. It was clear that there was something in there, but whatever it was, it seemed to be hiding from us. But then we started to hear a noise coming from inside the wardrobe. It was a low growl, like the sound a wild animal makes. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I took a step back. I wanted to run, but my legs felt like they were filled with lead. Suddenly, the wardrobe door burst open, and the growl turned into a scream. Then everything went black. I don't remember what happened next. I think I fainted or something because the next thing I knew, I was waking up on the floor with my wife kneeling beside me. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I think so," I replied, rubbing my head. Then I looked around. The wardrobe door was lying on the floor, and the room was in complete darkness. The power was still out. But then we heard the sound of footsteps in the hallway. Someone was coming towards us. And when the door opened, I saw the police standing in the doorway. "Mr. Williams," the officer said, "we got a call saying that you had found the body of your son in your house. I'm so sorry for your loss." I looked at my wife and she was crying. "What happened?" I asked, "How did he die?" The officer put a hand on my shoulder. "That's what we're here to investigate," he said. "They found Riley's body in the wardrobe. He'd been dead for a long time, but it was obvious that he hadn't died peacefully. He'd been strangled with a wire. To this day, we don't know who killed him or why. All they found in the wardrobe was a half-empty bottle of whiskey and a broken glass. But sometimes at night, I can still hear the sound of footsteps above me, and the mirror in the bathroom is starting to fog up again."